Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the 5 basic programming principles. So, first, there's KISS. Keep it simple. Stupid. Right? So you want to keep it as simple as you can. You don't want to overcomplicate. If you can use a list, always try to use a list. Don't go for like a dictionary or some other complicated data structure. If you have to choose between the two, always pick the simpler one, right? If you don't need anything else, if you don't think that you're gonna have to use any extra features that come with a dictionary, then go for the list, because it's much more simple. It'll keep your code easier to read, and it'll be more manageable. Second, don't optimize prematurely. This means that when you're just building your program, you're making your program, you don't have to optimize it yet, because you don't know what you'll eventually be running 1,000 times, and one function that you might just run one time. Let's say that you have function A, and then you have function B. So you look at A and you're like, I think that A is using too much space than it should. And you go optimizing A. And then later you realize this function, it's used once. If this is used once, then that optimization you did, okay, it'll save you a little bit of time, but it won't matter that much. Now, your function B, you decided, it doesn't seem too bad, so you're not going to optimize it. But now, you've uselessly spent your time optimizing this function that you used once. And this one is run 10 times. 10 to 100 times, right? And you haven't optimized this. So now, this one really matters. Because if there's like half a second, quarter of a second too much that it takes, or maybe it takes up twice the RAM as it could, then it would really matter because you're running it a lot. So, if you run into some sort of legitimate problem, or you finished the whole entire first draft of the system, then don't start optimizing. Now, for our third principle, is something that doesn't just apply to programming, but applies to everything. From building something physically, like if you're building anything, maybe you're building a car, maybe you're building a rocket ship, I don't know, but this will apply to a lot of things. It is that you don't modify a working system it's easier to modify a working system than get something working. So, in this case, you don't want to go around making this function and you're like, this function isn't working anymore, and then you delete it and start a new function. No, that is going to be much harder than just taking your function and then modifying all of your code. This way, you already have something to some extent that you've thought about. So it's going to be useful in improving that system. Remember, if there's something wrong, you want to improve the system, not rebuild it. Because otherwise, again, you're going to waste a lot of time. Now, for the fifth principle and last principle of the day, it is dry. And it is don't repeat yourself. This is super duper important because if you're keeping on repeating yourself and you want to change the thing that you repeated, you have to change it at 10 places. Instead, if you make a function that will take in some sort of input, which is some variable names or something like that, and then on the output, it'll do some set thing, right? So then you can just keep on using this function how many times you want. And if you're like, hey, this stuff that's going inside of here, we need to do something about it. It's not really working. Then you go back to this function and change the function instead of going to all the different places where you've used it. So, in summary, those are all of the 5 programming principles that will really help you in making your programs. These will especially help when you're making really, really big programs, because then you might have to worry about space and optimizing the time and all that kind of stuff. But even if you're just starting out and you're making some small programs, keep these in mind because it's better to practice them first